Welcome to It Matters Radio's spoken word broadcast with hosts Monica Brinkman and Kenneth Weene. It Matters Radio brings you the very best with a caring guest-focused atmosphere, hot topics, and meaningful conversation. Let's join Ken and Monica as we bring you today's It Matters Radio. Welcome to our Sunday night spoken word guest interview broadcast. And of course, as always, joining me is our wonderful co host, Kenneth Weene. Hi, Ken. How are you this
I'm
evening?
wonderful. How are you, Monica?
I'm great. I know. I always say this. I'm always so excited about the guests that you bring, and I hear you have someone that is probably going to be near and dear to my heart, and I hope to the listeners also. Could you tell us a little bit about
John
it?
Rosenman is just a sweet, lovely man and a very fine writer of speculative fiction. And he is also, folks, uh, cover for ears. You know, Punky's got a cover. Okay.
Okay.
He also really likes Punky, but we're not going to talk about Punky tonight.
No, no,
No, no.
no.
We're going to talk about John.
That's
So,
right.
yes.
I'll tell
Now,
Punky to stay over there.
yeah, please tell Punky to cool it. 'Cause tonight we're on John Rosenman, John B. Rosenman. He is, as I say, a wonderful author. He's also a retired professor of primarily writing. He taught writing for years. And we're going to ask him for some tips and ideas. And we're going to be talking to him about speculative fiction and what that is and how to think about it. And I know, folks, that you're going to really enjoy John. He's just a lovely, sweet man who happens, among other things, to be extraordinarily talented.
Okay. Well, shall we bring him on?
Please, let's.
Okay, here we go.
Thanks so much for joining us on It Matters Radio.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's so great to see you again, John.
Same here, Monica.
John, we ought to start out by helping our audience understand this genre called speculative fiction, which is your field. So could you tell us, what is speculative fiction?
Speculative fiction. That's a catch-all term. It embraces a little bit of almost everything. Science fiction, fantasy, paranormal romance, dark fantasy, maybe even a little magical realism and slipstream, things like that.
Yes.
Everything which is not strictly speaking factual or a reflection of bare reality as we know it.
Okay, so folks, it's a very broad category, includes all kinds of things where the author is making up part of the world, as opposed to making up a story that could fit into the real world. Now, within that broad tent, what is your favorite to write? Sci-fi, horror, what do you like best?
Sci-fi, action adventure with often broad, mind-bending, mind-breaking concepts.
Mm-hmm.
How's that for you?
I love
it. And that's my favorite, although I dabble in a lot of other adjacent or contingent genres or areas. But that's my favorite, kind of Star Warsy.
Star Warsy, okay, I like that.
If you put it that way, and but often interfused with religious or spiritual speculations, aliens who are radically different from us, and worlds which are realistically impossible. For example, one thing I do, which other science fiction writers do, is to have travelers pass down black holes or singularities and get to other parts of the universe. This has not been established scientifically as possible. It is speculative.
Right.
Hence, I write speculative fiction.
Now, when you talk about religious, that's very interesting to me. Now, you said Star Wars, and one of the things, of course, that I love about Star Wars is that it actually has given us almost a religious worldview. And I think that's one of the reasons it's very successful. It's interesting because there's another one that has been very popular, another totally different genre of speculative, the Harry Potter series, in which she also tries to give us a moral view of the universe. How do you personally approach the moral order of the universe you create?
Well, it depends on the particular novel. In the Spectre of the Cross series, I have each universe in the multiverse being overseen by overseers who keep, regardless, they know they should not meddle or interfere in human affairs, and yet, by golly, they do. And they, in turn, are only the agents of God, who is a female spirit that pervades all space, the multiverse, and every place. And her favorite is the hero, Turton, and she intercedes in his life. Do I really feel this is the way the universe is governed? No. But it's a concept which I find spiritually and religiously appealing for some reason. But that's only one possibility. In Dax Rigby, War Correspondent, another of my novels, I refer to the Mother Universe. So I obviously have a hang-up on women or females. My most cosmic and spiritually speculative novel is Alien Dreams, where I have a gatekeeper who controls the doorway or gateway to the Almighty. So I keep returning to this. In more stately mansions, I have the hero at the end traveling across the universe on some divine mission, perhaps toward God, perhaps not. It's a theme I often return to. And I don't know if I believe in a God or not. I've been watching recent videos of Richard Hawkins, I believe it's Hawkins,
Yes,
and,
it is. Yeah.
and Christopher Hitchens, who are strong doubters and skeptics. And actually, in the case of Hitchens, he is radically opposed and hates religion, hates Christianity.
He makes a religion out of hating religion.
He does. He does. But Richard Hawkins would deny that it's a religion because you're not postulating any divine being who rules the universe and intercedes or interferes in human life. But it's still a very, very important belief. And he does seem to be a preacher at times for it. So I keep returning to spiritual matters, not in all my fiction, but especially in my novels.
Is somebody hitting something? I just wondered.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, I was just wondering.
I think-
had a rhythm going there for a minute.
I'll play the drums if you want.
That's what I thought so.
We've got John intensely involved enough here, Monica, that he's doing.
He's
Don't
just
we
getting
all
into
have
it. I love
Do you
it.
ever use something like that in your writing, John? A tell? Do you give your characters tells like that?
I don't think I quite understand.
Well, in gambling, they call that a tell. I got a good hand. I start looking like that or something. Do you give your characters
I
tells?
do. You mean repetitive characteristics
Yeah.
that often are. Yes, I do. I've written a blog or two on that subject. Um, Characters have certain mannerisms. They do the same thing again and again. They even use the same phrase.
Mm-hmm.
Dax Rigby, war correspondent, I have the priest of another religion, the All Faith, which combines all faiths, all religions, um, say to the hero, "Don't you know who you are? Don't you know who you've always been?" And then I saw that I'd use the same exact words or tell in another one of my novels.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the characters will pull
Right.
the lobes of their ears, and
Mm-hmm.
I overrely on certain words and mannerisms that they have. It can be, it's something you got to watch out for. I did write one blog on it.
Mm-hmm. Well, now, yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that you write blogs about writing.
Yeah.
Why don't we just take a moment here to tell folks where they can find some of that excellent writing advice that you have provided over the years?
Well, one place is the Right Room blog.
Okay.
I've also posted some of them on my blog, which is johnroseman.blogspot.com.
Okay.
And the blog which I wrote was called The Figure in the Carpet. And my thesis was that most writers have figures in their carpet, and some of them return to them and repeat them too often.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm not sure I have figures in my carpet, but I'm quite sure that I have some ghosts hanging out in the cabinets. I think they come out at night and change the stuff I've written is what I really think. I mean, do you write about ghosts?
Yes, I do. Trying to recall some now. One of my stories, it's a short story. I wrote it for Kindle Unlimited, published it myself. It's called A Mingling of Souls, in which a wife hears her dead husband's love letters. The women in their love letters sing to her at night. They're kind of ghosty, a different type of ghost.
Mm-hmm.
Their souls or their spirits, their obsession with her husband are locked and enshrined in the letters. That's one ghost story. I know I've written others. Can't recall them right now. I've written about 300 short stories.
Yeah, I was going to say, how many short stories?
And but The Mingling of Ghosts, A Mingling of Souls comes to mind. You can find it on Kindle, plug, on Amazon. I have to stop tapping this.
Well, I tell you, folks, if you go to John Rosenman, Rosenman, on Amazon, what you're going to find is quite a list of books, and some of them are short things and ebooks and all manner and sort. Some are anthologies that John has contributed to. Wow, there's like this whole slew of them.
Somebody should have stopped me as a kid.
No.
Somebody should have done it. By the way, here's a realistic one. The Merry-Go-Round Man, which comes directly from my childhood, about a Jewish boy growing up and finding he has two great gifts. He can be a world-class expressionistic painter, an impressionistic one, or a champion boxer. It's about three boys growing up, and one of them was a black kid that I knew personally, and his father was the light heavyweight boxing champion of the world.
Wow.
And I put that in there too.
Mm-hmm.
So
I hope you didn't try sparring with him.
no, I didn't even come close. But I made the boy in the novel even better. But difficult problem he has, satisfying his father, who's an Orthodox Jew, wants him to be a rabbi,
Mm-hmm.
and his artistic desire. It was partly influenced by, I don't know if you've read Chaim Potok.
Yeah, The Chosen.
Yeah, The Chosen, and My Name is Asher Lev, especially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's one of the books which is also available as an audiobook.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I was going to ask you. Now, your books, a lot of them are in Kindle. Some are obviously, as you just showed us, in print, and some are in audio.
Yes, 4 of them, and a 5th is a collaboration of the publisher of Crossroad Press and about 10 or 12 friends. He wrote stories with 10 of us.
Yeah.
So, John, I was interested. You have one that I love the title of, and I think that we have a trailer for. So I thought we might
Sure.
take a moment to discuss it, and then we'll take a break while the audience get to see this trailer. But before we go there, I wanted to just plug something here, if I may. The trailer, John made it himself, but he made it after he had joined Monica and myself on a online discussion about how to make book trailers. And I have to give a shout out to my dear fellow host, the host of It Matters Radio, Monica Brinkman, for all that she does in helping authors and other musicians and everybody. And one of the many ways was to put together this presentation. And John, obviously, it was a good one.
Yep.
Well, thank you, John.
Wonderful.
And thank you, Ken. Do you know, if anybody's interested in that, it is on our It Matters Radio YouTube site. It's in one of the playlists, and you'll see creating videos, and just click on that and see if it'll help you.
So, but this one, I love the title of this, John. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about Senseless Act of Beauty.
Oh, I'll be glad to. As I said, I snagged the title off a bumper, car's bumper. They had labels, A Senseless Act of Beauty. I just love that.
Yeah.
You don't think of beauty as being senseless or involving a senseless act. Well, the concept for it involves an African of Nigerian descent, who's a scientist, a biobotanist. He travels with an exposition to this beautiful, super African world called Veritas, way up in the stars someplace. And it's gorgeous. And he arrives there, and I don't want to...
Don't ruin it. Don't spoil it.
But the idea is that sometimes, if we are going to fight for what is right for our people or anyone else, we have to face overwhelming, insurmountable odds. And to do so is not only illogical, it's a senseless act of beauty. Because while it's beautiful, it's senseless because it's foredoomed. And yet, so many people do this. They, they face the odds, and they give their lives, often for their country or for their cause.
Absolutely, they do. Yeah. Yeah. And that is a senseless act of beauty. I just adore it. Sounds like a great book.
Yes. Why don't we take a moment here and watch that video, and then we'll continue picking the mind of our great guest today, John Rosenman, author. And remember, if you want to go to Amazon and look for John, you will find some fabulous, fabulous books and to read. And if you want to find his blog, just a reminder, it's also John Rosenman blogspot.com, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's watch that trailer, okay?
Okay, here we go, folks.
That sounds like a great read.
Yeah.
And I love the video.
Oh,
Thank you.
yeah, you did a great job.
Thank you very much.
Very
You're not
well
just
done.
saying that's wonderful.
And it just goes to show that Monica Brinkman is a great teacher.
No doubt about it.
Or
And you taught for a long time, right, John?
Yes, I taught 29 years at Norfolk State University. I taught from the age of about 24 to 70, 46 years.
wow.
Wow.
46.
And what were you teaching?
I was teaching English composition, little American literature. I designed a course in how to teach how to write science fiction and fantasy. I designed the course. And above all, I taught composition to freshmen.
Mm-hmm.
Doing it again.
He gets enthusiastic, folks.
Hey,
Isn't it wonderful? Here you are, John, you're retired. And even now, you talking about teaching, I can see you getting so intense and excited about it. And folks, just to go back to something we mentioned earlier, if you look for John's blog posts about writing, that intensity and the skill come across. If you want to write and you want to write well, really go look for John's personal blog and also his pieces about writing in the Right Room blog, because you're going to find some really helpful information, stuff that will matter to you.
yes. Yes.
So, John, if you had somebody come in tomorrow, and they said, Mr. Rosenman, I really want to become a writer. Can you give me some advice? What would be a few pearls of wisdom that you could give?
I had my freshman English teacher a long time ago when I was 18. I gave him a sample of my writing, and he said, if you want to be a writer, the most important advice I can give to you at this time is to read all you can and to read widely. That's one thing I would do. I would also urge that person never to be satisfied or seldom to be satisfied with what he or she writes, but to revise, and to seek out a good writers group. Good writers group. Maybe give it to people of all different kinds. I've also written a blog on this called Writers Groups from Hell. And I was a member of a writers group for 20 years. So that's another bit of advice I would give. Read the masters, read people who are good, read people who are bad, but mostly people who are skilled and good, and outside your particular area or areas of interest. Those are some things I would do. And be patient. Don't give up. Remember that the race is not always to the swift, and that some people with far more ability than you may not be those who ultimately will succeed.
Right.
I am convinced that the most important thing in writing is not necessarily your personal story or where you've gone, but what you put down on paper or on your monitor. And that's what really counts.
Yeah. And the only thing I would add to that, I think those are all wonderful things. The only other thing I would add, and it's almost always integral to a writer's group, is read your material aloud. Hear your words. It really helps you to write better.
There's some people who say that they read everything over, especially the dialogue. See if the thing's true. You look for if there's any repetition, any phrases that just don't sound natural. Because, at least in dialogue, it's sometimes non-standard English, to put it mildly. But reading it over, you can catch problems, repetition, verb errors, you name it.
Now, one of the things, folks, that John mentioned is that you should read. And one of the people that I would recommend that you read if you want to read skilled, well-crafted, carefully written material is our guest today, John Rosenman.
Yes.
Okay. Gee, I got him embarrassed a little.
I love it.
John, you deserve that, believe me. More. Okay.
Well, you take people on such adventures and you allow them to use their imaginations. You know, they go places they'll never go, or maybe never even dreamed of. And that's what I consider a very, very good story.
Yes.
Yeah.
And occasionally I have people tell me that online. You know, I have a few people who are looking forward to my next novel in the series. I have a writer friend who, there's one story in particular she loves. And I'm so gratified that it made an impression on her.
Yes. Yeah. And I also like one thing about speculative fiction also, Ken, that I've noticed, and it's not with all speculative fiction, but a lot of it mixes genres also.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
I love it when that's done well.
I think that's why we use the word speculative more, because it is no longer, I'm in this genre, that genre. For example, your own work, I mean, it kind of takes a religious tone and a sci-fi tone, all different kinds of tones, Monica. By the way, folks, if you don't already know it, Monica Brinkman writes some wonderful fiction. There's
Thank you.
2 books and 3 short ebooks on Amazon as well.
Well, thank you, Ken. Yeah, check them out. While you're there browsing John's, hey, you have to pick up some of John's work. There's going to be a lot to look at because you're gonna thoroughly enjoy it. Like I said, he's going to take you on absolute journeys that you've never been before. And it opens your mind also, Ken. That's another thing I like about speculative fiction.
Yes, it does.
Makes
But
you think.
Yeah, John has one, well, it's a trilogy now. I don't know if he's going to write more of them, but he has
2 in the pipeline.
2 more in the pipeline. He already knows what
And
I'm
the
talking
series is coming out in print now.
about.
Oh,
Okay.
good.
We're talking about the, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right, Turton.
Close enough.
Okay, the Turton Trilogy, and there are going to be more coming. And this is a fascinating hero to me. He is an inspector of the cross. And he travels around the universe that he lives in.
Across the universe.
Yeah. And trying to somehow make sure, without interfering too much, that things don't go too awry. And it's a very lonely life, even though a lot of his time while he's traveling, he is spending in a kind of cryo sleep. He gets lonely, and he has a companion. And I love his companion. So, John, would you tell us a little bit about his companion?
Her name is Dr. Glitch, and she is a female computer. There's the female connection again. He designed her about 1,000 years or more before, and she has fallen in love with him. Why? Because he's Turton. He's the best there is. The enemy emperor himself, in book number 1, described Turton as the greatest of all knights. And I like that.
Yes.
And Dr. Glitch has a computing capacity millions, perhaps billions of times faster than his. And when he turns her off, she disappears completely into null space, whatever that is. And she is endlessly loyal to him. And but she's reluctant to take a chance and have her consciousness downloaded into a female body so she can compete for him and perhaps have a relationship, a love relationship with him, because she's afraid of rejection. And then again, Turton moves on from to lover to lover to lover because he's lived 4,000 years. And
it's a knight.
some guys would like that, but there's little or no permanency in his life. He goes to his next mission. Women will throw themselves at him because he's an inspector of the cross, and that's prime territory. And he's the best there is. He's legendary. He's mythic, and he will father a child or children, see them grow up to a couple weeks or couple months old, and then move on. And finally, in book 2 of the series, for the first time, he meets the great love of his long, long life. And she's going to be the other great character or hero of this universe. And Dr. Glitch, his faithful, brilliant computer, is going to be jealous about that.
Oh, yeah. Heartbroken.
It's heartbroken. It's terrible. And I don't know if there could ever be a computer quite like that. One of the prototypical computers like that is HAL.
Right, 2001.
Yeah. Oh, I loved HAL. Yes.
Yeah,
it was
but
great.
Dr. Glitch is quite the opposite of HAL. HAL is kind of malevolent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, not kind of, is malevolent. And Dr. Glitch is the most caring and loving, the good mother.
Yes. And she might be tempted to do something wrong, but she would never be tempted that much or would engage in it.
That's what I was wondering. That gosh, is she gonna all of a sudden feel jealousy and be vindictive?
No, but one thing she does, she creates images of herself, generates them,
Mm-hmm.
and she floats across the air in maybe hundreds of different forms, and caresses him and dances with him. She does that in the second book in the series,
Mm-hmm.
but she's incorporeal. She lacks substance.
Right.
Which is what her love for him ultimately lacks, I suppose, and she is unwilling to take the chance and download herself into a human female. And it probably wouldn't work anyway.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah, she's better off the relationship they have right now as it is.
So even in the midst of this speculative fiction, science fiction, knight-errant story,
Mm-hmm.
is this wonderful meditation, if you will, on love and pure love.
Mm-hmm.
And in that way, and I really like this about it, if you, for example, are a fan of the Arthurian legend of King Arthur and the Round Table,
Mm-hmm.
here you have a knight-errant going off to slay dragons and not rescue the damsel in distress. In fact, the damsel in this case sometimes rescues him. But he is accompanied by this damsel who represents, in many ways, the ideal love that one finds in the Arthurian legends.
Yeah. That's quite true. And regarding the dragon, do you remember in book 1, Inspector of the Cross, young Turton at the age of 9 or 10 played a game in which he was challenged, a video game, virtual reality game, in which his task was to slay the enemy dragon, the Chen knife or Chen dragon. And he was the only one to ever do it as quickly as he did. Perhaps the only one ever. So I was playing with that Arthurian myth,
Mhm.
beginning with book one.
Mhm.
So,
Playing with it very nicely. And
thanks.
yeah. So again, folks, now we have a book trailer for you, and we've kind of set it up, and that will be the end of today's broadcast. Except for Monica and my, of course, chatting a bit. But before we leave John Rosenman, I'm going to again remind you of his name. Notice how nicely I work his name in, because when you go to Amazon, you
What a
want to look for
segue.
John Rosenman, Rosenman,
Yes.
and you're going to find a whole bunch of wonderful books. And I can't say to you, you should buy this one or that one. I'm just going to say to you, they're all good.
Yes.
And they're ranging. John, you got a recommendation?
Yes. One I'd recommend, because it consists of 4 books for only $2.99. It's called The Amazing Worlds of John B. Roseman. That's my publisher's title. The Amazing Worlds of John B. Roseman. And it's a nice power pack of the kind of things I like to write. There are 4 of them. It's a 4-book bundle.
Wow, for
I just
$2?
what?
For $2, that's pretty affordable.
99. Yeah.
99.
I was going to say 3, but the whole thing is, God, what a great gift for someone.
I think so too. I concur.
Okay, there you have it, folks.
And you know we concur also, John.
So, folks, with that reminder, let's watch another book trailer,
Yes.
and Monica and I will be back afterwards to say good evening.
Yeah, and John, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for both for having me.
You keep in touch, okay?
I will do that, most certainly.
Okay, bye, John.
Bye. Take care.
And folks, here you go. Another
Well,
great
that
video,
was,
huh?
yeah. And I love John's writing, and I sure hope folks will go looking for his books. They're really well worth your time,
Oh
folks.
yeah.
And I take $2.99 for the, or was it for the 4 books? Boy,
Four
that's a
books. I know.
yeah. Now, uh, Monica, let's change topics and talk about music a little bit. Folks, you might have caught on by now that even though I do the spoken word, I love the music that we bring you from It Matters Radio.
Right.
Sometimes I even have music related guests on the spoken word section.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. But I wanted to tell you about something new that Monica has arranged for us to do for you. You know, I don't know how this lady manages to do as much as she does,
Oh.
but you know, we have at this point 8 shows a week
hmm
because in addition to this one on Sunday, we also have a music show where we interview musicians and performers. But then during the week, we have music shows every day. And recently, Monica added something very special and new to our Saturday spot at
Yeah.
7 p.m. Eastern, by the way, which of course is 4 p.m. on the Pacific Coast. And folks, you just have to figure out from there if you're not in New York or LA, then you're someplace else. So, you have time. Monica, what is it that you've done?
Yeah, I don't know if anyone has heard of this gentleman. His name is Dave Pratt, and he's actually quite well known. Oh gosh, he's received Grammys and he's been in the music industry a long time, but he put together this show where they present work from all over the world. And it's not just playing a after a song after a song after a song. I mean, that's great. We do that on our Euro indie shows because we want you to vote for them. But
Right.
these are the ones that have already made it to the top 10 music chart throughout the world. And it's an upbeat show, it's exciting, and he tells you a little bit about the artist and sometimes even interviews some of the artists in between the songs. And you just need to listen to it. It's exciting, and I know you're going to love it. I
Now,
just know it.
Monica, if people can't get to their computers at 7 p.m. Eastern
hmm
on Saturdays, they can pick up the show later, right? On our
Yes.
podcast.
Yeah, just go to It Matters Radio on YouTube. You just Google us and we'll come up and go to our playlist and you'll see one that is called World Stage Music and you'll get each week's top 10 right there.
Mhm.
And I just know you're going to enjoy it. So I'm so excited that they came to us and asked us if we would like to be one of the radio shows that would broadcast this.
Yeah. By the way, folks, you know we broadcast on Vaughn, and then we go to YouTube. But
hmm
if you go to Vaughn lately, and you might have noticed that now Vaughn is now taken to kind of bannering our program and letting people know. You know why that is? Because more and more people are hearing about us,
Yes.
and they want to go with a winner. You can help us by making sure that when you listen to the show live on Vaughn, any of the shows, sign in so they see that there's a live listener there.
hmm
And most importantly of all, on your social media contacts, talk about It Matters Radio. Tell other folks, how to get to it. And then also, please share the podcasts. I mean, we want you to enjoy the podcasts. We want you to have a wonderful time listening to them. But do be sure to let the world know
hmm
that It Matters Radio is out there because if we matter to you, that helps us to make a difference.
It does. And I was just going to say that, Ken, because we want first and foremost for you to enjoy our shows, of course.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we're here. But beyond that, you're not only enjoying a show, but each time you watch a show, you're supporting someone. You're giving exposure to a guest or to a music artist.
Hmm.
And what a great thing to be able to enjoy something and then also give something back at the same time.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
every time you share it on like Twitter or Facebook or whatever you share on, every time you share, you're helping us to get somebody else to appreciate what we're trying to do and maybe give a little bit more support to all these wonderful people like John Rosenman, who
yes.
are our guests, and the musicians who are our guests. Now, speaking of guests, I did want to also tell you we're always looking for ideas
Hmm.
of shows. What shows, especially in the spoken word? I'm fascinated by the variety of people who are out there who have something worth talking about and have the capacity to join us the way John did this evening. And not just authors and not just musicians. We love to talk about ideas, organizations, anything that matters. If it matters to you, then it should be on It Matters.
Exactly. That's why we renamed ourselves It Matters Radio, because we want to bring meaning also to the world and help the world. Yeah. So, how can they? Okay, let's say there's somebody out there and they say, "Well, gosh, yeah, I have a great topic, and I think Ken would love to hear from me." How do they get in contact with you?
Well, the easiest way is, of course, to go to www.itmattersradio.com and click on the contact button, and you can send us an email.
Hmm.
And okay, that's
Right.
the easiest way.
Right.
And while you're there, you can sign up for our newsletter that Punky sends out once a
Yes.
month. Punky loves to kick those newsletters out of her litter box, and she wants a lot of people listening.
Yes, she does. She loves it. In fact, it's called From the Litter Box. So,
Yeah. And speaking of Punky, by the way, just one last little plug, please, folks. Please, 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 please. If you're on Facebook, just look for Punky the Cat and
yeah.
like her page. Punky just gets so excited when she gets a new liking on her Facebook
Oh, she
page
does. She does.
that
She
she gives
brags.
her a new fur ball.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So let's keep Monica and hairballs.
Oh, I wanted to say one last thing about music. I know it's mid-August, but right around the corner is holidays are coming up. We've got Halloween, and then we have the Christmas holidays and that type of thing. So if you're a musician out there and you have a great spooky Halloween or even a funny Halloween piece of music, I'd love you to send that to us. And the best place to send that is to host at itmattersradio.com. So it can be, Christmas. It could be, oh gosh, there's so many holidays around that time, Ken. What there's Qantas, there is Hanukkah. Uh,
Monica.
yeah, we're not specific to one holiday. We just say the season. But if
There's
you
New Year's Day. Hey, let's celebrate New Year's Day. But also, if it's a Beltrain, I think it's Beltrain in October, and Halloween goes along with Halloween.
yeah, I think there is something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you've got any music, I mean, we love this spooky music, but I've also seen some great music that's been funny for Halloween also. So, you
Oh,
know,
we've had some great stuff on. And one,
yes.
one more thing, I want to say this because we do identify ourselves as an international show. We do play indie Euro music. We do those things. So, we want to open this up. So if your holidays, perhaps, or if your religion does not have but you have something else that you feel you would like to contribute at that time, that
Hmm.
you feel is meaningful, please get it to us. We want to hear your voice.
Exactly. And that's one way we can all unite the world also as people. So,
Mhm.
okay. Well, with that, I want to thank everybody who has tuned in this evening and to those who are listening to our podcast now. And as Ken said, please share everything because you're just assisting all of our guests. And what better gift is that? So, Ken, I'll see you next time, okay?
See you on the internet radio.
All right. Bye bye.